The night was silent as silent for a battlefield on the edge of an empire. Only the snap of torchfire broke through the darkness as two armored warriors dragged a hooded figure across the dirt. Dust choked the air, mixing with the metallic scent of blood and sweat. The prisoner's feet left two thin lines in the earth, his last trail, his final mark on the world. He wasn't a soldier. He carried no sword, yet every warrior watching him knew he was more dangerous than 100 men with spears. At Spy. They threw him before the tribunal, 3 commanders, seated beneath a tattered war banner. The tallest leaned forward, his bronze armor reflecting the flames like molten gold. Laid out before them were the tools: iron hooks, heated blades, wooden wedges, and a rope that still glistened with someone else's fate. "Tell us," the commander said, voice echoing across the silent camp. "Who sent you?" The spy lifted his head. Sweat dripped into his eyes, mixing with tears he refused to shed. His silence lasted only a second, but that second sealed his fate. A soldier stepped forward with a torch. Another tightened the restraints. A third whispered, "This is what becomes of shadows who walk among warriors." Because in the ancient world, being caught with a secret was worse than being caught with a weapon. It wasn't just treason, it was contamination. A single spy could collapse a city, poison a king, or turn an entire army into walking corpses. As the first scream tore through the night, warriors turned their eyes away, not out of mercy, but because they understood the message. Spies weren't captured, they were erased, and every empire had perfected its own way of doing it. To understand how ancient warriors treated captured spies, you must enter a world where borders were lines drawn in blood, and survival depended on controlling the flow of information. From the sun-scorched plains of Persia to the marble city-states of Greece, from Rome's disciplined legions to the iron-fisted dynasties of ancient China, every civilization lived under constant threat of unseen enemies. Wars weren't decided only on the battlefield. They were won in whispers, coded messages, and stolen plans. In ancient Persia, spies were so common that kings developed entire networks of eyes and ears, watching not only their enemies but their own people. In Greece, city-states were locked in endless competition, each afraid the other would infiltrate their council halls or military barracks. Rome, with its sprawling borders, believed that one spy could destabilize an entire province. Meanwhile, in China, where the legalist philosophy shaped harsh governance, espionage was not just a crime, it was considered a cancer beneath the skin of the state. These were societies held together by suspicion and order. Their leaders believed that stability depended on crushing threats swiftly, brutally, and publicly. And so, warriors were trained not only to fight foreign armies, but to guard against infiltration. Camps were protected by layers of scouts, coded signals, and night rotations. Entering an enemy encampment was nearly impossible, yet some tried. Many succeeded. Many died without their names ever being recorded. Espionage wasn't a glamorous profession, it was a death sentence waiting for a moment of weakness. In this ancient world, a spy wasn't a shadowy figure in a suit with gadgets and code words. He was often a desperate villager paid in copper, a soldier bribed with promises, a merchant carrying hidden messages, or a slave forced into betrayal. The risk was unimaginable, and the punishment even worse. For ancient warriors, capturing a spy wasn't just a military victory, it was a divine obligation to protect the empire. And that obligation was carried out with methods carved into the darkest chapters of history. Every ancient culture had a structured, often ritualized system for dealing with enemy spies. None were merciful. Rome crafted some of the most detailed military laws. Under Disciplina Militari, spies were classified as hosts, occultly hidden enemies. The procedure was swift. The accused was brought before a field tribunal of 3 officers. Evidence was rarely required. Suspicion alone could condemn. Execution followed the same day. Sparta operated differently. Their system was simple. If you were caught spying on the Spartan army, the punishment was instant death. No trial, no debate. The belief was that hesitation gave the spy time to lie, or worse, escape. Ancient China, especially under the Qin, elevated espionage to one of the 10 abominations, crimes so severe they polluted the state. A rigid protocol dictated interrogation, extraction of information, and public punishment to deter imitation. Legalist doctrines taught that mercy toward spies was weakness. Persia held court-like hearings, where captured infiltrators stood before military officials or even the king's elite inspectors. Yet, despite appearing legalistic, the outcomes were the same. The spy was doomed. Common across all systems was one principle: spies were not considered prisoners of war. Ordinary captives had rights, spies had none. This classification gave warriors full authority to use any method they believed would protect the state. Torture wasn't just allowed, it was expected. Public executions were encouraged. Severe penalties for their families were not uncommon. Ancient systems treated espionage as a contamination that had to be eliminated decisively, with procedures designed not for justice, but for security and fear. Because fear was the ultimate defense. Historical accounts reveal just how seriously ancient societies took the threat of espionage and how brutally they punished it. Herodotus writes of Persian commanders who executed infiltrators by a slow death meant to warn entire cities. The Greek historian emphasizes that the real purpose wasn't pain but spectacle. Xenophon in his Hellenica describes Spartan patrols capturing a Persian scout. They interrogated him briefly, learned nothing useful, and pushed him off a cliff into the sea. The act was done without ceremony, demonstrating Sparta's belief that spies polluted the sanctity of war. Roman military records mention spies found within legions' supply camps. Some were foreign merchants pretending to sell grain. Others disguised themselves as wounded soldiers. Julius Caesar himself documented cases where enemy messengers were caught carrying coded wax tablets. Their punishment was swift strangulation or crucifixion near the roads leading to Roman forts. Simeon writes of captured infiltrators branded on the face before execution, marking them as vermin of the state. During the Warring States period, some were forced to confess publicly before suffering slow, ritualized deaths meant to restore cosmic order. Archaeology adds physical evidence: execution pits near ancient Greek camps, skeletons found with bound wrists in Roman frontier forts, Chinese torture implements bearing inscriptions condemning traitorous spies. Even early civilizations left clues. Clay tablets from Mari in Assyria mention captured secret messengers, subjected to extreme punishments to prevent leaks in wartime strategy. These testimonies reveal a consistent truth across cultures. Spies were not judged as humans, they were judged as threats to the existence of entire nations, and their fate reflected that belief. Long before empires formed, early city-states already understood the danger of information falling into the wrong hands. The earliest spies weren't trained operatives, they were messengers, merchants, travelers, or slaves coerced into carrying secrets. In Mesopotamia, clay tablets dating back over 3,500 years describe kings who sent agents into rival cities disguised as traders. When these individuals were caught, punishment was primitive but severe. Records mention beatings, mutilation, and being thrown into wells or pits with no chance of rescue. Egypt's Old Kingdom developed one of the first organized secret police forces. Papyrus documents suggest that when foreign infiltrators attempted to spy on royal construction or military movements, they were interrogated by officials of the Keeper of Secrets. Those who failed to provide useful intelligence were executed swiftly, often in the desert, where the sand erased their graves. In early Greece, particularly Mycenaean culture, Linear B tablets reference individuals labeled as eyes of the enemy. These early spies faced symbolic punishments, the removal of the eyes or tongue, meant to show that the body parts used for deception were stripped away. By the Iron Age, a pattern had emerged across civilizations. Spying was considered a spiritual violation, a betrayal not just of people, but of divine order. Ancient leaders believed secrecy was their sacred right, tied to the gods who legitimized their rule. Anyone who violated that sanctity deserved a punishment that restored cosmic balance. This belief became the foundation for the increasingly brutal practices used by later empires. Methods evolved, systems grew more structured, and the punishments became not just functional but theatrical. For early civilizations, one lesson was clear: a spy's life ended the moment he was caught. Everything afterward was ritual. If the early stages of interrogation were meant to extract information, what followed was meant to erase the spy from memory and carve a warning into the minds of anyone watching. In Persia, the punishment for espionage was legendary for its cruelty. Impalement was common. Warriors prepared a sharpened wooden stake, coated in oil, and forced the spy onto it. The body's own weight dragged the victim downward in slow agony, sometimes lasting hours, sometimes days. Soldiers watched, not out of sadism, but discipline they believed. Witnessing the punishment reinforced their loyalty to the King of Kings. In Rome, spies faced the dreaded fossa, an interrogation pit where the air was stale and the walls ran with moisture. Soldiers lowered prisoners into the darkness and questioned them under the glow of a single oil lamp. When answers stopped coming, the punishment began. Whips embedded with metal shards tore flesh from bone. In extreme cases, spies were crucified outside the campa, brutally symbolic punishment reserved for enemies of the state. The Spartans, efficient and ruthless, wasted no time. They executed spies near cliffs or deep ravines. A single sword thrust or a push off a precipice. No spectacle, no unnecessary words. Spartan law believed that the quiet death of a spy preserved discipline better than theatrical cruelty. Under the Qin Dynasty, however, theatrical cruelty was the point. Legalist enforcers used branding irons, limb-breaking devices, and slow-cutting techniques to prolong suffering. Interrogation was systematic, what they called peeling the bamboo, layer after layer of pain until the truth was exposed. Once finished, the spy often faced linky death by slicing. Across all cultures, spies endured a fate worse than ordinary criminals because they shattered trust, violated sacred oaths, and threatened the very foundation of the state. To warriors, a spy wasn't simply an enemy, he was a disease, and diseases were cured with fire, iron, and fear. The brutality wasn't random, it was strategic. Ancient leaders believed that fear was a weapon as powerful as any sword. By punishing spies publicly, they sent messages that traveled faster than armies. Villagers whispered the stories, soldiers repeated them in low tones. Potential traitors reconsidered their choices. For warriors, the rationale was clear. Deterrence. A gruesome death discouraged others from attempting infiltration. Information extraction. The state needed every detailed battle plans, enemy alliances, hidden routes, pain-loosened lips, protection of morale. If soldiers believed spies walked freely among them, paranoia would tear armies apart. Brutal punishment restored confidence. Political theater. Emperors, kings, and generals used punishment to prove strength. Mercy was seen as weakness, an invitation for more spies to enter. In societies defined by war, secrecy, and fragile loyalty, these acts were not only justified, they were expected. The cruelty was a language every enemy understood. Behind every punishment was a human mind unraveling. For the spy, the moment of capture was the moment the world ended. Some begged, some cursed their captors. A few stayed silent, trained, disciplined, resigned to death. But the fear was universal. The tightening of the chest, the trembling hands, the sense that time had slowed to a cruel crawl. Some spies cracked at the mere sight of the tools. Others endured hours of agony before whispering the information that would doom their comrades. Many died without betraying a single secret. For the warriors, it was different. They were conditioned to detach. Punishing spies was not an act of malice, it was a duty repeated across generations. But even among hardened soldiers, there were cracks. Some avoided eye contact with the condemned. Others clenched their jaws or looked to the ground. The act changed them, shaping a culture where emotional numbness became armor. For spectators, the psychological effect was deliberate. Watching a spy die made the dangers of betrayal painfully real. It reinforced the belief that the state was always watching and always ready. The battlefield shaped body. The treatment of spies shaped minds. The echoes of these ancient punishments carried far beyond their time. As empires evolved, so did espionage. Medieval kingdoms formed spy networks. Renaissance courts hired cryptographers, and modern nations built intelligence agencies. But the fear of infiltration and the consequences for being caught remained deeply rooted in human psychology. Rome's legal codes influenced medieval military law. China's legalist doctrines shaped future dynasties. Persian intelligence networks inspired later imperial spy systems. Over time, the methods changed. The brutality became less public, more controlled, hidden behind diplomatic language and classified files. Yet the core idea survived. A captured spy is not a soldier. He is a threat to the foundation of the state. Today, international treaties offer protections, but history's shadow is long. Ancient practices remind us of how fragile societies become when secrets turn into weapons, and how far leaders will go to defend them. In the ancient world, carrying a secret was as deadly as carrying a blade. One wrong step, one wrong face in the crowd, and a spy's life ended in fire, iron, or silence. But the question remains, in a world still driven by secrets, power, and deception, what would you risk to uncover the truth? And if you lived in those ancient times, would you dare step into the shadows?